Hi there, Max Damian here. Welcome to my first ever gameplay series. Pretty excited about it. Something I've been wanting to try for quite a while. And I figured why not start with Railway Empire, a game I'm having a lot of fun with. I just finished playing the 5-chapter campaign, had a good time with it, but it only kind of gives you a sample of what the game's like, I think, because it only takes you up to the 1860s era of the game, and the game goes pretty far beyond that. Yeah, we're gonna play in free mode, and yeah, let's just jump into it. So I decided that I'm gonna play in the Northwest. It's a lot more mountainous than playing somewhere like the Midwest, which is just super flat and kind of simple for laying your tracks. So the mountains will provide us with a little bit of a challenge on the cost of building our lines through the mountains with tunnels, which is expensive, and it's also just fun riding along your trains as they go through tunnels and over mountains. For the era, we're gonna do 1870 to 1890. The campaign leaves off in the 1860s, so this is an era we haven't seen yet with trains we haven't seen yet. Our money, we're just going to start with a million. Don't want to start too high. I want to give ourselves a little bit of a challenge. Starting city, let's see here. The game recommends starting in one of these sort of major cities, I guess. They're all kind of at the edges of the map. I want to start with something a little more in the middle, perhaps. Oh, I thought maybe we would be able to... let's see. I don't want to do either Salt Lake or Rock Springs. Let's do Rock Springs. For the competitors, I honestly don't really like the competitor aspect of this game too much. I get the most fun out of just building my track lines and making sure my cities are getting the goods that they need, and not so much in constantly being bombarded with attacks from my competitors and them cutting me off. But we're still going to play with them. We're just going to drop them down to 2 so they're not too intrusive. We'll leave the AI level at normal. Rail network, of course, we will do realistic. If you do it on normal, it allows you to have just like single lines, I think, for trains, and you don't have to do track switches and signaling and all that stuff. And what's the fun in that? Pause mode, we're going to do manual for the same reason as I kind of was mentioning about the competitors. I just like building my track lines and my signals, and it's a lot more fun when you can pause and plan out everything you're going to do and then execute it. Game level, we're going to try Pro. I honestly don't really know how this affects the game too much, except for what it says down here, that the tasks it's going to give us are going to be more difficult. I also don't think I'm going to focus too much on tasks in this game, but we'll probably try and knock some of them out. My hope is that the Pro either makes trains and stations, etc. more expensive, or makes the amount of money that we're raking in on our freight trains and passenger trains a little lower, just to give us a bit more of a challenge. But I honestly don't know how that's going to affect the game, so we'll find out. All right. Yeah, so we're playing here in the Northwest. We got the Rocky Mountains. We're starting on the eastern side of the Rocky Mountains, so crossing over is going to be a challenge. It's going to be pretty expensive to get over those mountains. That'll be our goal. All right, here we go.
Your search is over.
Oh,
you
right, wait,
found
we still
what
gotta
you're
pick
looking
our
for,
character. So the game, if you do
What
the campaign,
directly cool.
starts you
Sometimes
with
I think about giving everything up and
industrialist.
dedicating my life to poetry. How
So
about you?
Since we did that in the campaign, we're not gonna do that here. So our other
Hey,
options are
strong leadership and discipline are the path to victory.
the general. Makes our track costs a little lower, but our cost for tunnels and bridges higher. We're probably going to be doing a good amount of tunnels in this campaign since we are playing along the Rockies. This is probably not the best choice.
We shall conquer them all.
And hiring train staff is 10% more expensive. That doesn't seem like the end of the world.
Don't ask questions about my business. The less you know, the better.
Gangster, 5 auctioneers. The auctioneers allow you to... I think they allow you to initiate an auction for a factory or business that you're interested in.
You wouldn't want anything to happen to you, would you?
You're annoying, dude. I don't think I am gonna choose you. Makes our freight earn more money. We can't get office employees at all, and make less money from passengers. 50% income from freight's pretty nice.
Meticulous planning.
Okay,
You're not seriously considering these other nitwits, are you?
Locomotive engines are 70% cheaper. That's quite a discount, and that's going to be a really nice early game advantage. Yeah, because the cost of engines is kind of negligible once you get a little later into the game.
There's no way to halt the progress of technology.
Maintenance buildings are free. That's also a really good early game. Maintenance buildings cost 80 grand, which is a fair amount of money starting off. Upgrading businesses cost 70 more percent more.
The business plan.
That's going to be
I know I had it
more
here
difficult
somewhere.
late game when we're going to want to be upgrading our factories and such so that we can provide the goods that we need for our cities. And repairs are a little slower. This essentially is like a early game boost and a little bit of a late game.
According to my calculations,
surely you must be aware that I am the best choice.
We make more money from our passengers and mail. Double bonus from having express trains. This is like a passenger focused build here. Repairs are a little slower.
My colleagues simply don't have what it takes.
From freight. Freight's going to be our primary source of income, so we don't want to cripple that.
We'll just wrap them all around our little finger.
Okay, and lastly, the Trickster. 30% cheaper auctions. Spies, which I probably won't even be using at all, considering I'm not too focused on competitors. And basically really slow innovation point progression, so that's
I always tell the
bad.
truth, even when I'm like.
According to my calculations,
gonna go for that nice early game
time
boost.
is highly important.
And it'll get a little more challenging when we want to start upgrading our buildings later. Okay, finally, let's have at it here.
You have received your startup capital and your task list has been created. You have 2 competitors in this region, so watch out.
Okay, so let's pause the game and just take a general lay of the land. So our primary focus is going to be to start to grow our city, which is starting out with negative growth. That's probably what I get for not choosing one of their suggested main larger cities. So we need to find a way to get some grain, some corn, some wood, some meat, and some beer to the city. Corn, that's good. We also have milk, which is good. It's not something we need right away, but I think that's a fairly early game commodity. Yeah, so once our city hits a population of 40,000, they're going to start wanting milk, so we'll be able to hook that up pretty soon. We have wood here, that's good. No wheat. Or grain, sorry. Closest grain is on the other side of the Rockies here. And that, we're probably not going to be able to build over these mountains here anytime soon, because that is going to be quite expensive. Because we're going to need to tunnel through these mountains. And tunnels are not cheap. Is there any other grain? All the way up here, and it's already being accessed by our competitor. Let's take a quick look at our competitors. We have Trisha Jones and Roger Smythe. Trisha is orange, Roger is yellow. So we have Roger Smythe up here, north portion of the map, and then we have Trisha down here in the southeastern portion of the map. So we want to try and cut them off, probably. Trisha, it looks like we'll get Denver. Want to head over to Cheyenne straight away, and build 2 stations in that city. If you build 2 stations in a city, which is the max amount of stations that a city will allow, I believe that it'll prevent her from being able to build over there, and will effectively cut her off. And then she'll have to come back down around this way, and we should be able to grab this station as well before she does. As far as Roger Smythe up here in the north, he's got basically our only wheat source that we have access to right now. But well, maybe what we'll end up doing is building from here to here, then building a line up to Miles. So Miles also has beer. Okay, so here in Rock Springs, we're making furniture, which I think we need lumber for. Oh wait, no. It looks like we only need wood for that. You would think that you need to get a lumber factory first to make lumber to make the furniture, but it looks like these are some very resourceful factory workers, and they go straight from the wood to the furniture. That's a little odd. Okay, so cool. So we got logs here, wood here to give them. Casper's producing meat. Cool. So Casper, we can get meat to Rock Springs, which is one of the things we need. Beer, it would be nice, but that's all the way up here in Miles. Is there anywhere else making beer close by? It doesn't really matter because this is the only place that has wheat right now anyways, so yeah, let's try and build up to Rock Springs first, and then get a line going from Casper, get some wheat going into Miles, and then some wheat coming down to Casper and Rock Springs. I'd rather get some wheat, or rather the game calls it grain, not wheat. I'd rather get some grain closer. Maybe eventually we'll get this grain coming from here over to Rock Springs, but for now we'll have to get it from up here. Cattle, we're gonna need to get some cattle for Casper as well, and yeah, we can get some from right here. So this looks like a pretty good start. I don't know if we're gonna be able to send the furniture to any other cities right now though. When do people start wanting furniture? 60,000. Okay, that's not too far away. So once Casper hits 60,000, we'll start asking for furniture. We'll want some sugar, some cloth soon as well. Cloth is made from cotton. Is that what this is? Cotton, which we have access to. Okay, let's start getting our stuff set up here. Enough talking for now. So, first question is, how do we want to lay out our stations? Generally, what I like to do is have a freight focused station, and then a second station that's more of an express train. And where you put those is important early on, because if you put them in the wrong spot and later on you're like, oh shoot, this isn't a good spot, and you end up having to cross your tracks all over each other, it gets into this big knot of rail lines. So I always try and think ahead, and that'll save us a lot of headache in the future. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure out where we want to put this. We're gonna go with a mid-sized train station, and we are going to be our freight-focused one. So the stuff we want to get from these two cities is all on the sort of the southern side. So we'll put our freight train on the southern side, and then we'll end up putting our passenger one on the northern side, and that way we can just run a nice clean line to all the other cities without having to cross over a bunch of freight goods coming into the cities. Okay, we're gonna angle it this way so we can end up coming through here, and then also have it not be too hard of an angle coming from our resources down at the base here. That should be good. Okay. So first things first, let's get some corn. I wonder if a large train station can get both of these. Nope, not quite. So small train station for corn. So we can get around these mountains. If you're wondering what all those lines are, the game doesn't come default with that turned on, but it makes it a lot easier when you're planning out where you're going to put your stations and lines, because it shows you elevation changes, these topographical lines here. You can turn that on by going into options and then turning on your contour lines. Super helpful. I definitely would recommend it. And if you don't know how topographical lines work, essentially the distance between each line generally represents something like 100 meters. I could be wrong about that. It's been a little while since I've read a topographical map. But so the closer the lines are, so essentially to go from this line to the next line, that's 100 meters. So the closer the lines are, the steeper the incline. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Let's get a nice curve coming out of here. Don't like how close to the mountain this track is. Let's maybe angle that a little bit more. Oh, Salt Lake's over here, so that's actually perfect. Yeah, a better angle would be something more like this. Okay, cool. All right. I'm gonna try and build a soft angle coming out so that later on, once we get 4 lanes in this station and upgrade it, it'll be easier to put in all of our cross tracks. In here. Why is it building a tunnel right there? That is quite expensive. 130,000. I guess because we're having to dig into the ground right here, jacking up the price. Probably lower over here. That's pretty steep. Forget that. What did I do? I just made it more expensive. Right. Right. Alright, start over. We have very little money. I'm gonna try and find the flattest way to go about doing this. Alright, well, I think we're just gonna have to live with that steep incline. Only for a brief amount of time. And because we're later, I'm guessing our trains have good tractive power. Let's see. Oh yeah, 109% tractive power. Your tractive power is important when you're going up inclines. It's basically, the way I understand is it's better. It can grip the rails and pull the train up. It's probably a terrible understanding of how that works, but it's how I think about it. Ooh, look how cheap our trains are. 10 grand. Usually they're more like 30 to 50,000. That's that nice bonus we're getting from playing as the engineer. Cool. Okay, where was I? Let's get this built. Pretty cheap compared to that first line we laid. 160, so this is cheaper. Always pay attention to where your lines are going. It's often possible to get it cheaper if you tweak it a bit. Get this line a supply tower. Let's get some. Don't need this right now because we only have one train coming this way, but in the future we will, so might as well just do it now. And okay, let's get a train on there. We are going from Campbell Estate to Rock Spring. We shall name you Rock Springs Corn. I always like to rename all of my trains and start them with the name of the city that they are associated with. That way when you pull up your list of trains later, especially once you start getting, you know, upwards of 20 trains, your list is all nice and organized alphabetically by city name instead of a big mess of a bunch of different farm names, etc. Our super cheap train. Yeah, that engineer bonus is really going to help us out here in the beginning. Okay. Step 2, we need to get logs, wood to Rock Springs. We're gonna get that to Casper too, but let's get a line between Rock Springs and Casper going. We'll start out Casper with a double medium-sized train station here, and we want this oriented. No, just straight. That's good. And we'll put that. All right. Build some. I'll usually build some like nice straight lines coming out, or like a nice soft curved line coming out right away in a city, so that as it grows around these lines, and that way it's all set for the future once I start expanding. That'll make more sense later if it doesn't now. Alright, let's hook it up. What? Because of... the heck? Okay. There we go. That was weird. We're gonna do double tracks to start on this one, because this is gonna have both the wood and the train line running between the two cities on it. Cross tracks here. Same on this side. Let's get a supply tower. Or actually, let's put a supply tower after we get our logs in, and then maybe we can get a supply tower to hit both of our logs and our inner city trains here. Okay, logs is also going to be a double station to start, but we're starting to run low on money. Well, I think logs is the last train we're going to be able to set up for now, and maybe our cattle train. Yeah, we should get our cattle train going too. Okay, station. So, ideally you want your train station to be closest to the resource because it loads faster. But I think in this case, to save money on the rail line, and not have to, you know, cut through this hilly terrain right here, we're just going to go a little further out into this flat ground here. Oh. Coming back a little bit so that we can maybe get in a supply tower right here and not interrupt this area over here. Yeah, we'll go like that. Good. Cross track in so that the train can get over to the right side. And then on this side, I'm gonna have this train come into the other lane here. Nice. And yeah, we can get a second supply tower over here. Alright, now we can do our supply towers and then signal this up. Cool. Supply tower about right here. And another. Isn't the best spot for it, but we're gonna try it. And let's get our signal. Alright, so we're gonna be putting a directional signal to bring in the traffic going that way. Stop here and wait for this one. Syncing over. Auto signals on the rest of this track. The auto signals will put these nice evenly spaced signals along your whole track for you. It can cause some problems, but I usually just fix those problems as I come to it. I find it more convenient to have it lay a bunch of them for me rather than laying every single one of these ones manually. And the reason you want those signals all along the track is if we didn't have that, let's say that this train coming along this track breaks down, like right here, for example. And then we've got another train wanting to come out of Rock Springs along the same line. If we didn't have a signal, like right along this way, this train is going to wait for that broken down train all the way back at the station until it clears up. But if we have these signals, that train's going to come up to the closest signal behind that broken train and wait there. So it saves you some time, make sure trains run more efficiently. Super important. Okay, we need a few more signals here. We need one, so this train will wait coming into there. Likewise over here. Don't want that directional. Okay. Do we need any more signals? We'll set up signals along this once we get more than one train going, but for now we just have one. Okay, we need to set up our line 2 for Springs. That real quick. Rock Springs to Casper. So he'll most likely be bringing passengers and mail Casper, and then coming back from Casper with meat. We'll leave the name of that as Rock Springs to Casper. By a train. Okay, let's get 2 trains for our wood. One go from Cropping to Rock Springs. Rock Springs. Wood. Add a train. Casper. Casper. Wood. Okay. Last thing before we get this running is to get our cattle train. Copy. Train station. So that way this track that's going to probably come in this way will line up nicely with this. There we go. Just a single line for now. Coming in here to Casper. How's that look? I think that looks pretty good. I don't think we have enough money to buy a train. Let's see. Like just over 10 grand, I think. Oh, oops. We didn't connect that properly. Try that again. Do it this way. That's annoying. That fixes it. Good. When that's a little cheaper. Cool. Okay. Oh, I shouldn't have done that because now I can't buy a train. Yeah, we don't need this quite yet. Oh, I didn't get enough money back. That's okay. We can run the game for a sec. That money that we need. Yeah, we're just barely shy. Okay. Let's run the game. Make some money and then buy our last train that we need. So these guys here are loading up with wood. Beautiful. Look at that symmetry. Got our passenger train running to Rock Springs. Oh, gotta get rid of that negative growth. Got a train full of corn coming. We'll probably get a second train, corn train going all the way up to Casper, unless there's some closer corn. Not really. Alright, let's see how much this wood nets us here. 20 to our cattle train. Oh, I missed it. Cool. Made enough though. Ian got distracted. Cool. Let's pop this cattle train in. There we go. Love it. Cool. This guy should be going back with meat. He is. And cool. We got the beginning of our economy going. Pretty happy with it. We're gonna need to get some grain real soon though, otherwise we're not gonna grow our cities. Grain, and they're gonna want some beer too, which we can get from the north. So we'll need to get over there. Will probably be our goal here. So cool that you can ride along with the trains as they go. You can even blow the whistle. Cool. Alright, so yep, I think that's a good point to wrap it up for this episode. Just to do a quick little recap. We got... Oh, that's got nothing going there. Oh, and did you name everything correct? Oh, we gotta change some names here. Here's breeding. What's that? Oh, that's the cattle. We need to rename these trains. Why do you have two of them? Okay. That's
he who saves wins.
Cattle. Alright, so we've got two trains going to Casper, one with cattle, one with wood. We have two trains going to Rock Springs, one with corn, one with wood. And then we've got our train traveling between our two cities. It is a good place to wrap this up for now. And then when we get back, we will try and push over here to get our grain and our beer. I'm happy if they don't have their beer. Rock Springs is no longer dropping in population, so that's good. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna try and do an episode at least once a week, I think, hopefully twice a week, but we will see. Thanks again. Bye now.